So the big question I have for you on the Nat Reports tonight, it's a pretty simple one, which a lot of you should be able to answer pretty easily. Do you think that the WNBA players currently deserve to be paid more than they're currently making at this point? You have to remember, Caitlin Clark's rookie salary last year was like just $78,000 a year. We know the cap on salaries in the WNBA is currently set at about $250,000. And for those non-mathematicians in the audience tonight, that means they basically are only going to make the most they could possibly make is around $250K from the WNBA. I want to have this discussion with you tonight on the Nat Reports. It is Sunday, July 20th of the year 2025. As always, I'm Dave DeBaugh, coming to you from the Silicon Valley. Hey, this is a show that takes a quick look, if you will, on a nightly basis at the wonderful world of business as it relates to the sports world. So we're going to get into WNBA talk tonight, specifically around player salaries and whether or not those players actually deserve to be paid more than they're currently getting paid. Now, Armageddon broke out last night after the WNBA All-Star Game wrapped up. Pay us what you owe us, and pay the player signs were seen throughout the arena during the actual event. And I have to say, anybody out there that actually believes that the WNBA players don't deserve to be paid more have just absolutely lost their minds. Now, I think the real question those people might be asking isn't whether or not they should be paid more. It's really more of a question around, is the league actually something that is sustainable and can generate a significant amount of money over time so that it's not actually losing money? We've all heard about how the WNBA 2 years ago was losing over $30 million a year. And yet we saw the Golden State Valkyries actually pay a $50 million franchise expansion fee to actually join the league. We saw just how successful the Golden State Valkyries have been with Valhalla and all of that stuff, so much so that the new expansion franchises, the three new ones, which were actually announced a couple months ago, are actually going to pay a $250 million expansion fee. So for anybody out there that can actually attempt to make an argument that the WNBA shouldn't exist because it's not thriving, you have to ask yourself this question. Why would anybody then decide to actually invest $250 million to actually be part of something that's not going to survive? That just makes no financial sense at all. Now, in terms of the players deserving more money, and if we just take those expansion fee differences, the $50 million that the Valkyries paid to the $250 million that was paid basically 3 years later, you can see that from an economic standpoint, the league is certainly significantly more valuable today than it was 3 years ago, which is, of course, one of the arguments that the players are making. It is pretty simple for me to understand the math of the numbers. I understand that the NBA owners currently own about 40%, between 40 and 42% of the actual WNBA. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who were owners of these teams who over the years lost a ton of money. But that is not the world that we're currently living in with the WNBA, as well as with new startup leagues that are actually surviving and doing well. We did a story last night on Unrivaled Basketball and how well that's actually doing as a startup in the 3-on-3 women's basketball league arena. But when you really think about it, do players deserve to make more than $250,000 a year in a league that has expansion fees that have gone from 50 million to 250 million? And of course, the answer to that question is yes. So the W, who I understand they have to do what they have to do to try to get the best possible deal that they can get for their league. It's a very old school way of thinking about things. It's the same way that the people over at the Stephen Colbert show thought that, well, yeah, we're losing money, but it's okay. We know that the ad revenue from most late night TV shows is down like 60% over the past 5 years, and any business that is actually losing that kind of money, that there certainly would be cuts, and some of those shows and late night television might not actually survive because the financials don't make sense anymore. A lot of what people used to watch those shows for can now be found on social media platforms. My wife loves spending an hour a night actually just sitting there watching TikTok. And while maybe 10 years ago, we might have actually been watching late night TV together at that same time, that no longer is happening. So the economics of the world have certainly changed, and certainly the economics of what the WNBA used to be versus what the WNBA is today and what the WNBA could be in the future have changed pretty dramatically. This is, quite frankly, a league that is on fire right now. Ratings are up significantly. Attendance to games is up significantly. And of course, merchandising sales is up significantly as well. We covered unrivaled 3-on-3 basketball last night. And one of the big points we made about it was just how well that particular league had done with social media impressions. Now, while the WNBA has certainly done well as well, there's a tremendous amount of growth for the WNBA just in that social media impressions world. And I'm willing to bet that as things progress over the next 5 years, you'll see the league do even better there than it is today. It's actually one of the things that the NBA actually dominates, believe it or not, the NFL over, which is social media impressions. So when we look at the W today, is it significantly better, stronger, and more financially viable than it was 10 years ago? And the answer to that question is absolutely yes. Is this a league that appears to be thriving and heading in the right direction? Yes. Is this a league that needs to have a players' strike right now to get this done right, so that the players are actually getting the right amount of money that they probably deserve at this point? And the answer to that question is no. The WNBA should not squander what it actually has in front of it, which is a golden opportunity to actually pay the players what they're worth, and to also use that positive sentiment that will come from them actually getting that done right to help continue to actually grow the WNBA brand, which, by the way, is absolutely growing in the right direction at this point. All right, I would love to know your thoughts and opinions on this particular topic. It is absolutely amazing to me that anybody out there could actually really look at this and say, the W is just not worth it. It owes too much to the NBA and there's too much debt, and could ignore the expansion fees, the differences between the expansion fees between the Golden State Valkyries and what the three new teams each individually paid. It is amazing to me that those same people could also ignore the television rights contracts and how those have actually expanded significantly over time. There's, I think, a lot of people out there that have wanted to see the WNBA fail for some reason, and I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. At this point, it is a league that is absolutely heading in the right direction. But hey, once again, go ahead and drop in your comments. Thanks so much for tuning into the Nat Reports. For the Nat Reports, I'm Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate